In this adventure, I'm going to share one of the biggest lessons of all, what a solo camping adventure taught me about the difference between being alone and being lonely, because sometimes the very thing we fear is the very thing we have already survived.
I just had to. I had to. I had to. Because if you know, you know. I had to. I just had to. Because
Being happy isn't about relationships or more things. Welcome to my channel, This Way to Bliss, where I hike and explore and car camp in my hybrid SUV and heal through nature, one hop, skip, and step at a time. Hi, I'm Candace Shea Frazier. This is my story of growing through grief instead of giving up, resetting my nervous system, and breaking my addiction to chaos and confusion. Out here, I found the strength to keep going and the first sparks of balance, bliss, freedom, and fun after the fallout of divorce, loss, betrayal, and abandonment. I have so many adventures to share, so make sure you like, subscribe, and share with your friends. So if being happy isn't about having things or a relationship, what is it? Being happy is about being present in the beauty of right now. Being happy is following your heart to do life in a way that you get filled up and then overflow. Being happy for me is being in nature, giving myself exactly what my nervous system needed: stillness, fresh air, curiosity, space to explore, space to breathe. Nature wasn't just where I escaped. It became one of the places where I slowly learned how to reconnect with myself. The more time I spent out here, the more I realized happiness wasn't somewhere outside of me, waiting to be found. It was something I could finally feel once I got quiet enough to notice it. Nature has always reflected something back to me that I struggled to find anywhere else: a sense of peace, presence, and joy. At the time, I thought all I needed was my little hybrid camper, my pets, some good food, fresh water, and a place in the forest. Looking back, I can see I wasn't just driving into the forest. I was learning to follow myself. Kitties are all settled in their spot. So back to the story. Now, last episode I talked about learning to trust myself again, but what I didn't know yet was that trust would require action, because self-trust isn't something we think our way into, it's something we practice. And in the summer of 2023, I was about to practice it in a way that would change my life. You see, for most of my life, I thought I was afraid of being alone, but what was really hurting me wasn't being alone, it was actually waiting for someone to have time, waiting to be invited, waiting to be included, waiting for someone to choose me before allowing myself to fully live my life. So that weekend, I made a different choice. I packed my Highlander, loaded my pets, grabbed my gear, and went anyway. Not because I wasn't scared, because I was. Not because I had everything figured out, because I didn't. But because movement creates momentum, and sometimes the first step in rebuilding your life isn't knowing exactly where you're going. It's simply deciding you're not staying where you are. So as I've arrived at my spot and I'm backing in and getting ready to get set up, a wave of peace and joy and excitement came over me. Let's go explore, shall we?
Yes. Not so yes, but work with it to have this hammock and I need to fix that.
Yay! Okay, quick question. Am I the only one who does a happy dance when I finally get to camp? Please tell me I'm not alone. What does your I finally made it dance look like? Looking back, I smile watching this. At the time, I thought I was just unpacking camp, but what I couldn't see yet was that I was rebuilding something much deeper. You see, sometimes rebuilding your life doesn't happen in one giant leap. It happens one small decision at a time. One chair, one bag, one tent stake, one quiet choice to keep moving forward. Looking back, I wasn't just setting up camp. I was creating a place where my nervous system could finally begin to feel safe. And I did it by creating a little home in the middle of the forest. The 4th of July had never really been a holiday I had looked forward to. As a child, it often reminded me of being left out, Other families gathered, celebrated, and made memories together, while many years I watched from the sidelines. As an adult, those feelings didn't magically disappear. They took on different forms. So when another 4th of July came around that I wasn't included in anyone else's plans, I had a choice to make.
You hear what I hear? Yeah, nothing. Yeah, cool.
I could let that old story define another year, or I could write a different one. So instead of waiting for someone else to include me, I packed my little hybrid SUV, loaded up my 2 cats and my Chihuahua, and created a little home in the middle of the forest. And looking back, I can see this was not just about camping. It was about taking action. For so many years, I thought healing would come when life changed, when the right people showed up, when I finally felt chosen. But healing didn't begin when my circumstances changed. It began the moment I stopped organizing my life around what was missing and started creating moments that made me feel alive. And just as I was about to stake down the tent, a car drove by, reminding me that where we choose to settle matters. So I moved everything just a little to create the privacy I was looking for. And now, with camp set up, my next priority was making sure everyone else felt at home too. So that meant getting everything ready for the cats to be in the back with the mosquito netting that I tuck underneath here. I found another way to use it. I wrap it over the back of my hatch and then tuck it underneath the mat, and it creates a mosquito netting without having to be this big thing.
Hey, no. We've got bandits.
And it wasn't just me learning to feel at home out here. We're all learning together. Oh. Hello. Before I ever thought about making myself comfortable, I always make sure they are first.
Thirsty?
At this point, Kaya is only 1 year old, so she's still very much a mama's girl and does not like being away from me.
Sit down.
Now that my tiny feline overlords are fed, it's time to go feed the Chihuahua.
Yes, Hua, I know you need to.
Turns out creating a home isn't always about 4 walls and a roof. Sometimes it's a tent, your pets, nature, a few familiar routines, making sure everyone's fed, and my favorite part, putting up my hammock and slowly settling into a place where it feels like you can finally exhale. And you see, if you've been following along so far, you can see how on this journey, my healing didn't happen all at once. It's happened through simple routines, caring for the ones who depend on me, including myself, setting up a space wherever I'm at that feels safe, and the biggest one, giving myself permission to slow down and just be, just breathe, just swing in a hammock if I choose, or pack everything up and go live in the forest like a feral child. Like, I don't know. Like I said, moral of the story, I wasn't just setting up camp. I was creating safety. I was embodying love, safety, and belonging instead of chasing it. One small routine at a time. One familiar ritual at a time. One quiet moment at a time.
Hey, YouTube.
Okay, all that took about an hour, and I'm really feeling it at this point. But the work is not done yet. My next task is to get the fire going. But I have to tidy things as I go, because that's just the way my brain works. Never a dull moment in Candace land.
I'm tired.
Apparently, I can't just leave things alone. If I see something that needs a little care, I tend to fix it. In this case, it was the campfire ring. I wanted the rock stable enough to safely contain the fire, but spaced well enough to let it breathe. And anytime I'm moving rocks out here, yeah, you better believe I'm using a stick first. Rattlesnakes, they love those cool, shady hiding spots. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather surprise a rock than surprise a mean old rattlesnake. I also try to leave every campsite a little better than I found it. Not because I have to, but because this forest is taking care of me. The least I can do is show it the same respect with the leave no trace ethics. With the fire ring ready, it was finally time to make some kindling and get this fire going. Just a little over an hour ago, this was just an empty spot, and now we've turned it into a campsite that feels like home. And you know, looking back, I think that's exactly what I was doing inside myself too. With everything finally in place, there was only one thing left to do. You know, there's something almost meditative about building a campfire. You can't rush it. Every piece supports the next until eventually it all comes together. And you know, looking back, healing has felt a lot like that too. It wasn't one big moment that changed everything. It's been 100 small moments quietly building on each other.
All fixed. It's a Chihuahua. By the river. In a van. And her own van. Hi, Lola. Big rock. And now she's skeeter proof. Hee hee. And El Gatos are El napping.
One of the things I love most about being in nature is how it slows me down enough to really notice the beauty around me. That evening, I wanted to capture not just the campfire, but the feeling of standing there beneath those towering trees. I had just learned this fun new panoramic trick, turning my phone vertically instead of side to side. And I loved how it captured the moment from the ground all the way up to the sky. I was still figuring it out, but I thought it was pretty cool. And you know what? It's funny that before all this, I used to spend so much of my life looking at what was missing. But somewhere along the way, I started looking for beauty instead. And once I did, I began finding it everywhere. How about you? And don't beat yourself up, because if you've gone through a lot of traumatic events, especially early in life, your attention was conditioned to be pulled towards hurt, exclusion, and what's missing. But it takes time and practice to learn how to turn your attention on things that are beautiful, like the light filtering through the trees and the feeling of standing in the middle of it.
Safety precaution. Because that was getting a little too hot.
As the sun began to set, I looked around this little home I'd created for myself and my pets. Nothing about my circumstances had magically changed, but something inside me certainly had. Grief was still there, it just wasn't the only thing I could see anymore. As my perspective began to change, so did what I noticed: the warmth of the fire, the light through the trees, the quiet, my little family beside me, the simple gift of being exactly where I was. Looking back, I know nature didn't change me overnight, but it did gently begin to change what I paid attention to. And when that shifted, everything else slowly began to shift with it. Because remember, grief was still there. It just wasn't the only thing I could see or feel anymore. Mazzy. Kaya. Hey. What are you doing? Stop trying to eat the pine cones. Hey. Stop eating that. Stop eating that. Also, I do not recommend trying to wrangle two cats by yourself if you don't have experience.
Uh-oh, we had a frogtastic tiffy.
After I got everybody settled, I decided to explore, and I discovered this little guy. And seriously, I could have watched him all evening. His resilience, tenacity, and relentless determination to get up the side of that stump kind of paralleled my own journey up to this point, because I don't give up either. But I also noticed too that it's all about footing and balance.
Pretty impressive, Mr. or Miss.
Because if we don't maintain that, as you're about to see, we end up overreaching and boop, we fall back down. But the key is not giving up when you fall down. It's
blending,
gathering yourself and your wits, and then getting back up and trying again. And then I discovered this guy, this banana slug. And I can say is nature is amazing and occasionally a little awkward, because I don't know about you, but that it's gross.
He's waiting.
That night I climbed into bed feeling something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Not because my life was perfect or I had everything and I was all healed, but because for the first time in a long time, I had chosen myself.
I can't see her. Mazzy! Kaya! Night-night! Zizi boo-boo!
And these two crack me up. They're either being super lovey and cuddly-duddly with each other, or the white one, Mazzy, is punking the little one because she's the dominant one, and she's also part Siamese, so she wasn't a fan of bringing in another pet. So it fills my heart when I see them being loving together and not fighting.
Night. See you in the morning.
Come back for the next episode because the forest had another surprise waiting for me that next morning. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your bell notifications so you can traverse the next trail with me. Stay sovereign, self-sourced, and remember,